In this video, we are comparing one car from 3 different brands. So let's get started right now. Here we go. We've got the TomyTec here. I'll put it back there. We've got the Ignition model here. I'll put it right there. And then we've got this guy from INNO64, and I'll put him right there. First and foremost, what we're dealing with here, guys, is we're dealing with Mr. Matsuda's Nissan Skyline 400R. Now, the INNO64 does not claim that. However, the TomyTec and the Ignition model does. And first and foremost, what we're gonna do is let's do a quick background on Mr. Sugoi Matsuda himself. He is a professional racing driver for Nissan within the Super GT JGTC series. In 2023, he was actually in a severe accident that was almost life-threatening. However, he was able to make it through that. And from this video, one thing is that he actually owns one of these cars in real life. That's right, it's the silver version, and his chassis number is number 27. And there are only 30 of these that exist in the entire world, so super rare to even own one of these cars. And these things sell for $1 million, $2 million, and who even knows what this thing is gonna be going to in the future, but certainly something that is out of the price range. And this, it will probably be the only extent of what I can afford when it comes to a Nissan 400R. But let's get started into packaging differences of these three guys. Let's start with the Ignition model. Ignition model doing its standard blue packaging here with the carbon fiber looking base. Now, this is actually a special limited edition version, so it was a limited release. And as you can see, this one actually came with a figure right there. And that figure is actually not a resin figure. It is a metallic metal figure. So here's the car and there is the figure. So this is the packaging that you'll notice for this one. Now let's go on to the next guy. Next one, let's go to TomyTec. TomyTec coming out with a very unique packaging, which looks really cool because you've got Mr. Sugoi Matsuda himself right there on the cover. So they wanted to make sure that they were representing him absolutely for this release. And when you open it, and I'll show you guys right here, you can see it's got a nice little JDM Japanese interview with him. And you can see this little picture of him right here, even having little 64 scale versions of it. So I'm sure this tells us a nice little history about the car, what he knows about it, and you know what his thoughts are about owning the thing. And then here is the car itself, encased in this plastic wrap and this cardboard box. So pretty signature for TomyTec, but really cool that TomyTec was able to offer this little insider and then this type of packaging, which is really cool. Look, it's even got more pictures on the back too of Mr. Matsuda there, but the car looking awesome as well. But we'll wait to see and dive into that. And then last but not least, let's not forget about little INNO64. And as mentioned, not marketing it as a Matsuda Edition 400R, but it is distinctly something that he owns. And so that's why we are doing this comparison, okay? So INNO64 doing their typical packaging. In this case, you've got the black silver going on, 400R logo, the Nismo logo. Something to note about this Nismo logo, guys, it is the OG old school Nismo logo. It is not the new version with the red O at the end. And before we take it out of its cases, let's talk about some similarities. All are going to be Nissan licensed, officially licensed products. As you can see here, INNO64 rocking it, Ignition model rocking the license, and of course, TomyTec. There it is right there. All licensed, good to go, legit products. All of them are also going to be fully die cast models, so all metal bodies. Let's talk about price point as well. This one, the TomyTec, going for about $30 to $40 in the marketplace right now, recently released at the time of shooting this video. The INNO64 going for its traditional 20 to 24 range. And then this one, because it's a special edition, it's gonna be in the 45 to 50 range. So Ignition always asking for that premium pricing when it comes to their product line, and the fact that it comes in this limited edition version is gonna be a little bit higher. So now let's remove them from their case. Starting off with TomyTec, you can see you open up the side here, pull this slip art box out like so, and then there it is. I'll put the box to the side for now. It looks like you can pull it open right here, pulls the cap off, and wow, it's actually got another cap here just in case it. So TomyTec making sure that it's got its car in a good package so it doesn't fall out. And then finally we've got the car, which this thing looks absolutely gorgeous. Look at that, that looks great. Okay, so we'll set him down here. Ignition model next. So ignition model gonna be pretty straightforward. You just slip it out here, pop the top, and we've already talked about the figure, so we'll just leave that inside. That's that metal figure. We'll put that aside, and then the car coming in right here on this base. And I'll be sure I'll remove it off this base as well. Done and done. There you have it. How does that one look? Wow. We'll park that guy right here. Look at that. And last but not least, our buddies INNO64. There you have it, and then there's this one. There you have it, INNO64's version. And before we get lost here, this is the TomyTec, this is the ignition model, and this is the INNO64. What we'll do is we'll just start from the front of the car. So what is the distinct thing that you notice at the front? Well, the thing about the Nismo 400R is that you've got this front bumper, right? Full carbon, you've got the grille, you've got the front lip, and then you've got the intercooler. So something to note on the intercooler between the three, you'll see the Nismo logo on INNO64 and TomyTec. And let me show you guys what I'm talking about. The Nismo logo, remember that old school logo I mentioned in the previous part of the video, the block style, it is there. So the ignition model actually missing the mark on that, not having that logo. And then the INNO64 actually does have it right there. You can see it. And something else to note, you can see the INNO and TomyTec sharing the front license plates. I actually think the Japanese license plate looks a lot cooler. And then something else to know about the 400R, around that intercooler, you'll see a surround. And around that thing is actually a carbon fiber surround piece that encapsulates the intercooler for maximum efficiency, something that actually all three does have. But let's move on to the headlight details. Headlight details, we start to see some differences. So the INNO64 looking a little bit funky with the headlight. You see what they did here? They put like a black housing overlay piece over the plastic headlight, whereas the ignition model not having a black housing at all, but then TomyTec staying super faithful here. As you can see, it's got the black housing on the headlights there, so it looks really nice on the inside. So here's the ignition model headlight. As you can see, got the nice details there, but just not a black housing. Now, some of the difference you can see with the brands, let's move this to the side a little bit. Check that out. You can see the stance differences, right? So the TomyTec rocking more of a OEM stance. The ignition model always doing their thing, doing the lowered stance version. So from the stance perspective, it looks really cool drop like that. And then the INNO64 looking a little bit funky here. Check out the stance on the INNO64. It just looks a little bit higher, and the wheels and tires also contribute to that weird funky look. Now let's move on to the side. There we go. As you can tell already, the side profile having that infamous 400R logo in black, and it looks like all three did a great job in putting it in the proper location. You've got some metal side view mirrors for each. Thank you TomyTec for not putting the side view mirrors separately, having us attach it. All three rocking the side markers here, all three rocking the GT logo right there in the corner. Now side marker, I would say it's more pronounced on the INNO64, the ignition model, and it looks TomyTec only using like a decal there. Doesn't have a side marker that's protruding out. As you can see, you see here how it's more pronounced. Doesn't show any of that. Now I've already made fun of INNO64 for the tire setup here. When it comes to the wheel setup, let's take a close look at that because it's super important. TomyTec doing awesome. I think they did great. You can tell it's got the two-piece bolt pattern there. It's got the Nismo logo. The center face is white, just like the 1.1 version. Let's look at ignition model. Ignition model, what'd you do here, guys? It's got way too many bolts for the bolt pattern on the two-piece wheel setup. I just think it's got way too much. However, it looks great in terms of the stance, and the wheel looks bigger. Like it's almost like a 20-inch or a 19-inch wheel, whereas maybe this is more of an 18-17 setup. And then INNO64, oh, I'm not sure what happened, you know. You guys did good on the bolt pattern around the wheel, and you got the INNO logo on there. Not sure why that center is yellow. Should be silver, I believe, or black. And something else that the R33 400R share is the over fenders for the front and rear. As you can see on the TomyTec, it is there. On the Ignition model, you can see it is there as well, right there, front and back. And then on the INNO64, it is there as well. You can see it's most pronounced on the INNO64, actually. You've got the INNO decal here, which the other ones do not have. You can see the carbon pillar right here on the window for the INNO. No carbon pillar for the Ignition model right there where that door is. And then on the TomyTec, I guess TomyTec missed it as well. They just kept it flat black or gloss black. Ooh, let's take a look at the hood real quick. Take a look at the hood. Hood, I think everybody did a great job. It's that vented hood that we all know so well from this series of cars. The only difference is that you don't have washer nozzle details on the Ignition. Check that out, it's deleted. TomyTec got it going on. INNO64 always doing it, so no problems there. But now let's go ahead and move on to the back. Just so we don't get lost, TomyTec, Ignition model, INNO64, okay, here we go. What do you think, guys? What do you think? Okay, TomyTec, take a look at this rear end. Looks great. It's got the famous 4 taillights set up there. It's got the turn signal very faintly. It's got the GTR logo. It's got the license plate, exhaust. It's got the wing set up here. One thing about the wing that I will say that maybe TomyTec could have done a better job of is they didn't make it carbon. This centerpiece is supposed to be carbon. I am pretty sure of that. Let's go on to the Ignition model. Ignition, they've got the carbon fiber wing there. You can see it. Although the carbon fiber weave looks very big for a scale. However, they do have it. 400R logo there. Oh, my bad. That's a 400R logo, or it's supposed to be, but man, you can't tell on the TomyTec. But here on the Ignition model, you can definitely tell. It's got the 4 taillights there. It's got the exhaust, license plate. Oh, missing that Nissan logo right there. It's just an empty space. They've got the Skyline lettering right there on the trunk. Taillights look a little bit weird. Like it's almost too dark, I think, for those taillights. Now let's go on to INNO64. How we doing back here, guys? How we doing, INNO? INNO's got, oh, they've got the carbon fiber centerpiece there. Great. And you can see the difference in weave, right? Nice and small, more appropriate for a 64 scale as opposed to that Ignition model. They've got the 400R logo legible, looks simple. Painted the turn signal and the rear reverse lights there. You got the license plate, exhaust, and the Nissan logo all visible. Oh, they've also got that third brake light detail on that spoiler. Check that out. Something that's actually missing on the Ignition model right there. You don't see it there, but TomyTec does have it. So let's give TomyTec some credit. All right, now let's move on to see which ones roll and which ones do not. Okay, so for this one, I've got it set up like this. Now, this is TomyTec, guys, and TomyTec, all you guys know, veterans know that TomyTec rolls. TomyTec's super smooth, check that out. And TomyTec also has suspension. Look, you've even got a drop. Look, now it looks like Ignition, check it out. TomyTec doing its thing, making sure it rolls, so let's move that out the way. TomyTec is good. Ignition model, come on, guys, you already know this. Ignition model, what do you think? Nope, not gonna be able to roll. See that? It's got a nice static setup, but no rolling action, okay? The suspension is done. Let's move on to the last guy. Last guy gonna be INNO64. Now, INNO64 has come up with surprises, so let's see what. Oh, check it out. INNO64 rolling, a little bit rough, maybe because the tires are hitting the fenders. Fender wells, but it is rolling. It doesn't have any type of working suspension or anything like that. The only two guys rolling from this series is going to be the INNO64 and the TomyTec. So it's actually really nice to see 3 of these brands bringing out these silver 400Rs, something that's super nostalgic to the Skyline fans and definitely something that needed to be made in a die-cast format. Ignition model also being able to allow a bigger scale to exist, which is really cool. But I'm excited to see what other styles come out next. Let me know what you guys thought about what these brands had to offer and which one was your favorite.